We're so excited to be finishing up our 2-day National Juntos convening. Hello, my name is Diana Urieta. I'm Senior Director here at NC State, North Carolina University. And I am excited to see everybody here today and those that are joining us live. We have just completed our first convening as a 10-state united front. We're committed to the Juntos 4-H work. We're committed to our families, our Latino families, nuestras familias que están en las comunidades de todos los estados a donde estamos. And so we have with us California, Idaho, Florida, New York, Nevada, Oregon, Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and North Carolina that are committed to the work of Juntos. And so with that, I'm going to welcome Bianca Wall to introduce us to our speakers today.
Good evening, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are. We are so grateful and excited to have you join us. We are really excited to introduce and have our panel talk to you a little bit about their journey with Juntos. Beginning first, I'm going to introduce Milka Jarquin. Milka grew up in Yadkinville, North Carolina, and it was during her time at the Yadkin Early College High School that she joined Juntos as a student. Juntos played a pivotal role in her inspiration to attend NC State University, where she had graduated in 2018 with a degree in mechanical engineering. During her time at North Carolina State, she was a part of the Juntos College student team, where she gave back to her community by planning and leading program events at NC State, her hometown and throughout the state. She also mentored high school students in the Juntos program from her hometown and had the opportunity to represent Juntos as a Juntos alumna at state and national events. Currently, Milka works at a solar engineering and consulting firm that is helping the next generation have a brighter future by protecting the environment through renewable energy. She plays an important role in helping build solar farms throughout the country, and her goal is to grow with the firm as a servant leader and engineer and make her family and community proud. Continuing, we have also with us Kenny Murillo. Kenny was a student with Juntos 10 years ago, and he began his journey in high school with us, and from there progressed on to what has been a very unconventional educational journey for him. But I know we are all proud to see where he has ended up. Diana, I don't know if you can add to Kenny's bio.
I think Kenny's going to add to his bio in just a minute.
Very true. Continuing on, we also have Jorge Pacheco. He grew up in Graham, North Carolina, and went through the public school system in Alamance County. He has a degree in technology, design, and engineering education from North Carolina State University. He has been working at Fuquay Varina High School for 4 years and teaches digital design and animation as well as game art design. Jorge is also an advisor for the Latinos Unidos Club at Fuquay Varina High School, as well as an advisor for a program he created called the Young Latino College Cohort, which teaches young Latino males the college process as well as various life skills. Outside of the school setting, Jorge is also a member of the North Carolina Society of Hispanic Professionals and has helped with numerous events and programs. His goal is to become a high school principal and eventually become a county or area superintendent to truly make a difference in how education is given to students. And last but certainly not least of our panel is Representative Greg Meyer. He has served in the North Carolina House of Representatives since 2013. He represents House District 50, serving constituents in Orange and Cassville counties. As a trained social worker, Representative Meyer approaches legislation with an eye towards protecting those who are marginalized, vulnerable, and oppressed. Greg currently serves as co-chair of the House Democratic Caucus Campaign Committee, overseeing 2020 election operations. Greg has worked across party lines as the founding co-chair of 2 bipartisan bicameral legislative caucuses, the Early Childhood Caucus and the Life Sciences Caucus. Prior to becoming a legislator, Representative Meyer spent 16 years working in North Carolina's public schools. From 1998 through 2014, Greg was the coordinator of the Blue Ribbon Mentor Advocate Program. During his tenure leading BRMA, the program had a 97.5% graduation rate, and 100% of the program's graduates enrolled in post-secondary education. From 2012 to 2014, he also served as the Director of Student Equity for the Chapel Hill Carrboro City Schools. He has an extensive experience with policy and staff development initiatives designed to end institutionalized racism and promote educational equity and excellence. And so we are very pleased to have these 4 individuals speak to us about why Juntos is here to stay.
All right, so wonderful panel. Are you guys ready for your first question tonight? Yes?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So you have 2 minutes to answer this question. And the question is, what else should we know about you? Let us know. What did we not cover in your bio? And then to go along with that one, how did you get involved with Juntos? And I'll call on Kenny first.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, joining all of you. And I guess there's a lot about me that you don't know. I'd like to start with saying that I'm from Honduras. That's where I was born. And I came to the US at the age of 9. I came here illegally to be reunited with my family. And it's a journey that has shaped and kind of motivated me to where I am now, which is in medical school at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And being in medical school now has been really, has been a dream that I've been working towards for a long time, really since I came to the States. School became my safe haven, and I've worked really hard. And even though in 2012, when I graduated from high school, top of my class with honors, I had done everything that I thought I was supposed to do to get into college, follow that recipe for the American dream. It didn't quite work out as I hoped and may say expected. I was rejected for some schools because of my immigration status, and I almost self-deported back then, and it was actually because of DACA that was announced that I decided to stay, because I felt really rejected and felt like, I didn't feel really welcome here. But I knew I wanted to go to college, and I think one of the reasons I felt so strongly about that was because of Juntos, because in many ways, I had that experience of what it means to be in college and felt empowered that I could do it because I had stayed on NC State campus for 2 summers. I had interacted with a lot of college students, and I felt like I knew a lot just based from my experience with Juntos. But fast forward a little bit, I was working several jobs, taking 1 to 2 classes at the community college. Eventually, I was awarded the Golden Door Scholarship, which is a full ride that took me to Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. Graduated with a degree in biology, came back to Durham, North Carolina, which is where home feels. And I was working as a medical interpreter. Most recently, I was working for a biomedical engineering company, lab at Duke University, and I started my first year at UNC Medical School 2 months ago.
Awesome. Thank you, Kenny, for sharing your story. And next one, Jorge, our teacher, our educator. Tell us, how did you get involved with Juntos, and what do we need to know about you?
Yeah, so apart from my bio, honestly, I did mention a lot in my bio, so I think that gives a good summary. But some of the ways in which I first got started with Juntos was definitely through college. So at NC State, the Latino community is not huge. You could definitely, everybody knows each other. Everybody knows what's going on within the community. And by my junior year, I was involved with an organization called Mi Familia, which I eventually ended up being the president of that organization. But Juntos just kind of became a staple around them. Through scholarships, through volunteering, because with Juntos being on NC State's campus, people were volunteering and tutoring and stuff through Juntos, and they were involved in a bunch of other different things. So It's always kind of been out there, but I will say that one of my first like experiences where I was actually in the mix with everybody was definitely through, I forgot the name of it now, but the soccer,
Copa Unidos.
Copa Unidos, that was it, and it was amazing too because it not only brought NC State students together, but it brought Appalachian State students here. I think it was like UNC students as well. Excuse me if I was missing anybody, but it was amazing just seeing that work, that unity, that teamwork. And honestly, even now, like with working through the North Carolina Society for Hispanic Professionals, I know that we work with Juntos giving out scholarships through them. So I'm actually the chair of the scholarship committee, and I know that we it's not like we're in charge of giving out the scholarships, but they send us their applications and we kind of like sift through them and stuff. And I really just think that the reach through Juntos has always kind of been there, and I feel privileged to kind of have been around it and just kind of see it grow, because it's even in the time that I've known Juntos, like it's expanded so much, it's grown so much, and I still remember knowing when Diana told all of us that it was expanding into other states other than North Carolina. I just remember thinking like, wow, like this is an amazing thing for a bunch of other states. So the fact that y'all are here, y'all are going to be a part of an amazing organization, a part of an amazing group. And I look forward to seeing what you all come up with the convening. So thank you all for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Jorge. Greg, there's a lot said about you. What else do you have to add? And how did you get connected with us?
Yeah, that was like the long form bio. We don't need to hear anything more about me. We got the whole thing. Good job, Bianca. Well done. I got connected to Juntos when Andrew and Cynthia were just getting started. Hi, Cynthia. Good to see you out there. And I was running the Blue Ribbon Mentor program at the time, and we didn't become a full Juntos site, but we did like a Juntos pilot program with our students and families. And I remember being in the middle school gym and or might have been the cafeteria with the families and feeding them dinner and having them talk about college for the first time. And I learned a lot because I was learning from them about what post-secondary experiences were like in the countries where folks came from and how different it is in the United States, and how we have to help make it not only understandable, but also a cultural norm here in the United States about kids going away to college, about how we have to make parents feel safe that we're recommending their kids are going to leave home, which feels very, very strange. And then how do we make it clear to them that their kids are actually going to be okay? So it wasn't just all about logistics. It was really about deep, deep culture and understanding. And so important for me to be able to improve in my work and helping students with college access by being in that environment where for once it wasn't me who was being interpreted for the people in the audience, but I was the one with the headphones on so that I could understand what they were saying.
Thank you, Greg. And last but not least, our beautiful Milka.
Thanks. Yeah, I got involved with the Juntos program when I was a high school student a long time ago, and just had the sweetest experience with Juntos and getting my family involved and my whole community involved in the whole journey of applying to college and picking out a college. And yeah, it was part of the program that I got to visit NC State University and decided to go there. Yeah. Oh, and one thing that I was not shared in my bio is I love having people over at my house for dinner and getting to hear their stories and perspectives. And yeah, me and my roommates are always planning events to have people over. I know that especially during these times, it can be kind of hard, but I can still have at least one person over and just get to hear their stories and perspectives during this time. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
So continuing on, we are going to move on to personal questions now. Each panelist will have about 3 minutes to answer their question. I'm going to start with Kenny. Based on your experience and perspective, what do Latino students bring to our communities, our states, and our nations?
Well, that's a a big question, not a difficult one to answer, I will say. I'm sure Milka could add to this question too, by the ways. But you know, we form part of this community and of our schools, and I think that in a way the Latino students are kind of forgotten, or their potential is not really fully realized because there's a lack of resources and attention that is not given. And I will say my personal story is a testament to what can happen when there is. I would not be here where I am today if it was not for the people that have really not only motivated me, but have been there and helped me through so much. And an example would be when I was figuring out how I was going to go to a 4-year school. I was finishing my associates in science at the community college. I wanted to go to NC State, probably because of Juntos, which I had been part of, like at that time, I guess 4 or 5 years prior. And because of my immigration status, I'm an international student. I have to pay the out-of-state tuition rate. And I was like, how am I going to come up with all this money? There weren't even that many scholarships that were an option for me to apply to. So my family and I started selling tamales. My mom, my dad, and I started making large batches of tamales, and one of my good friends owns a coffee shop in downtown Durham, and I asked her if she could help me, and she's like, what do I do? Marco Polo? Sorry, I have a dog. And yeah, it became this really big project where I would have a lot of my friends from school and my community join me at home, and they will help us wrap the tamales, cook the masa. And if you ever had a Honduran tamale, it's huge. They're really big tamales, not like the Mexican ones are kind of small. But yeah, they're pretty laborious to make. And, you know, there were times where we would make 500 or 600 tamales, and we were giving them out as suggested donations. I didn't have a license to sell food, so I should not say that I was selling tamales. I was sharing my story with the community in downtown Durham and saying, you know, if you feel moved enough, please make a donation and take as many tamales as you like. And it was a really beautiful movement or project that I feel this commitment to give back, and I felt so, again, empowered because of all those weekends that we spent going to Coco Cinnamon and doing that. And a lot of people learned about, you know, one state, one rate, and pushing for policies that are just, because, you know, unlike my high school peers who went to college, I didn't feel like I had the same opportunity to do that, even though that's all I wanted. Like, I wanted to go to college, I want to go to medical school, I want to be a doctor, and I want to practice medicine here in Durham, or in the US, in North Carolina. I would love that. It would be a dream come true. So all that to say, I think maybe I'm at my 3-minute mark, that there's a lot of potential, and, you know, we are your future doctors, we are your future engineers, and who knows, politicians. And I think that it makes a difference when we have the same opportunities to realize our potential.
Awesome, thank you, Kenny. So Milka, the next question is for you. In the video that you guys did for us, the promo video, you talked about how Juntos helped guide your family through the higher education journey. Can you talk to us more about that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, like Kenny mentioned and Greg mentioned, that there's this concept of the culture that each family has, and as much as, at least for my family, you know, they came to the U.S. with a dream that you know, their children would go to college and would go to higher education, but having the language barrier and just not knowing the culture here, they didn't know how am I going to send my kid to college, and also how I'm going to pay for it. And as a Juntos student in high school, I think of one of my favorite stories when Juntos had a family day at NC State, and it's basically a day where the parents and the students come to NC State's campus. NC State professors come and talk about the programs that the college has, the different opportunities. Financial aid is there, and they talk about how to apply for that in the application process as well. And I remember doing this as in my last year of the early college, getting ready to apply for colleges, and my family came with me, and they got to see the dorms, they got to see the student union, which was brand new, and they were like, wow, Milka, we can now say that we've been to college too, even if that just means we've stepped on a college campus, but we can now say that we've been to college too, because we're here with you and we're here for you. So that's how my family got just so inspired, having those opportunities to attend the college campus and learning about the whole applying to college process in their own language, and just breaking that cultural barrier that we initially had. So definitely a vital part of my journey in getting to college, just being united with my family.
And Milka, your Juntos journey did not end once you graduated from high school. Can you talk about how, you talked a little bit on the video about giving back. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, in coming to NC State, I just had the blessing that the Juntos program is based out of NC State. And so I got to be a part of the team there, both planning and mentoring high school students, mentoring students that were still in high school when I was in high school. And especially what was super sweet was getting to plan those family day events, or Copa Unidos, the soccer events that I had once been a part of as a student. And so that was a sweet way to give back to my community and even my home county, because they would, like, Yadkin County would come and they'd be like, oh, I know Milka, and she's like representing Yadkin County over here, and just became this, like, everybody cheers for the person they know, and that is connecting that community. And so I love that, because when Yadkin County would win the soccer game, then obviously I would cheer because those are my people. So it was just this sweet experience of basically, being like the older child in the family and getting to college and having these younger generations seeing, oh, she came out of Yadkin County too and has gone to college and has accomplished all of this. I want to follow that path and that journey as well. So I loved getting to give back. And I mean, overall, giving back to our communities is not just about money. I mean, money is super important because we need it for resources. But one of the biggest ways to give back is pouring just our time into the lives of these younger generations, which college students did that to me when I was still in high school, and I still maintain friendships with them. And then I got to do that with younger generations when I was in college, and now that I'm out of college. So that was a huge part. And yeah, giving back to the community. I mean, that's something that we have been mentioning. Juntos means together, and the community must remain juntos to be able to walk this journey. So.
Thank you so much, Milka. And this next question is for Jorge. As a public school teacher who experienced the classroom as a Latino student in North Carolina, what are your thoughts on the impact that implementing a Juntos program in your school can have on the student, teacher, school, and parents?
Yeah, so first off, I just want to say, or like ask anybody in here, I'm sure that we have teachers in here, right? Or at least ex-teachers in here. And I think all of us that have been teachers or have been within the school setting, whether it's like a social worker or like, as a guidance counselor, whatever it may have been, I'm sure that you all understand how difficult it can be to really get your school behind something and to like feel like you have, I guess, like the backing of the school themselves. And I feel like a program like Juntos on that side could definitely, y'all have like a proven curriculum, y'all have a proven, system that works. Y'all are already implemented in a ton of other schools. Like coming across to a principal with all of that information, it is like limitless in terms of like what could possibly happen within the school setting. I will say that for students themselves, and me growing up too, like in North Carolina, having programs like this, it just did not exist. Like it was not necessarily something that was available to me as a student. But I do see the importance of it within the students that I have now, because they're always looking for resources. They're always looking for programs. They're always looking for ways to really, I guess, like push themselves forward. And I within my school myself, I know that I've tried my part, and but it's tough for individuals to do that. Like it is really, really tough, and I'm sure that a lot of you all can attest to that fact too. But ultimately, one side that I don't think is talked about enough is just how these students kind of see themselves within a group. And just like with me growing up, in where I did, Hispanics, Latinos going to college, it was not something that I had seen. It was not something that I was aware of. Even within my family, like I'm a first generation student, and I didn't have any uncles, I didn't have any cousins. I'm the oldest cousin like out of my whole family, so I was definitely like the front runner with that kind of stuff. So I didn't have that exposure. I didn't know that this stuff was possible. But a program like Juntos being implemented in schools, I really do think that it's just going to push students to want to push themselves, which I think at the end of the day is what we need to see. It's what we want to see out of these students. If you surround yourself with people that are pushing themselves, whose goals are to get to college, whose goals are to get good grades, whose goals are to get to that top point wherever they can reach. If you surround yourself with people like that, there's so much that you can do as an individual. Like it is insane. And even with me myself, like I know that growing up, like I had to push myself to do that. But I feel like if I had a program like Juntos around with the curriculum that they have, and on top of that, even tying in parents with that too, it would have made such a big difference. Like it would have made stuff so much easier for me. And just like thinking about that being a possibility for my students, being a possibility for students that aren't mine, like for the community in general, I don't think that is like, I guess I don't think that the spotlight is shined on it as much as it should be. But ultimately, I do think that all of you all, like if possible, like, implementing these in schools, y'all are gonna get nothing but support from principals, from teachers, from guidance counselors, from everybody, just because whether you know it or not, a program like this, like it's only gonna improve the community. It's only gonna bring everybody closer together. And I think that ultimately that's what we wanna see in our schools. And that's what principals, that's what they really want to see in the schools too. So y'all are definitely doing a big service with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Jorge. So Greg, your question is like loaded. You ready? It's like 3 layers. All right. So we want to know, like, tell us about your journey of becoming a policymaker, your passion for access to post-secondary education, and any advice you have to give us on how to get our policymakers in all these states interested in Juntos.
So that's not 3 layers, like that's all one story. So in 2005, we started the advocacy in North Carolina for trying to provide in-state tuition benefits to undocumented students, which we still don't have 15 years later. But that's actually where I met Cynthia and Andrew, was through forming this coalition of all these organizations that were working on college access for Latinos. And, we were leaders of organizations who had fallen in love with young people like Jorge and Milka and Kenny, because how could you not love these people and these great stories? But they had these systemic barriers in front of them. And so no matter how much we could do to help individual students and families navigate the system still had these walls up. And so when you want to change that, that's when you have to shift over to policy advocacy. So the first time I visited the North Carolina General Assembly was in 2005 to go lobby on this issue. Well, so now here I am many years later, and now I'm the primary sponsor of the bill to provide in-state tuition to undocumented students. And, I've learned a lot about advocacy along the way, because I came from where you are. I came from the direct service world. And there's a lot of things that I know about how to help students go to college. There's a lot of things I know about how to do education better for Latinx young people. But when you move up to the policy level, it's a different set of levers. Like I can't mandate all the things that I used to do, because if I mandated them the way I used to do them, they're a little bit different than how Juntos does them, and who's to say which way is better. So our job is to make sure that we set up the framework so that people can thrive, and that organizations like Juntos can help support people. And I think that when you're trying to encourage policymakers to support whatever it is that you're advocating for, there's a couple of core pieces of advice that I would give you based on my experience. The first is that, unfortunately, almost all policy is made based on relationships and stories and not on science and data. And so have your data, have your program data. It's great. Make sure your evaluation is out there. But what actually is going to make a policymaker fall in love with you and want to support you and drive a bill for you or put you in a budget appropriation, it's going to be relationships, stories, and emotional stuff. So bringing the young people, engaging folks directly to talk to the policymaker, that makes the biggest difference of all. And that leads into my second piece of advice, which is if you come to see me at my legislative office in Raleigh, you get a 15-minute visit, and you might not even get that amount when you get there, because because my days are so packed and busy that you may get there and my legislative assistant say, well, I don't think he's going to make it back on time, so you may only have 5 minutes by the time he gets there. Or I may not make it back at all, because I may be in a committee meeting or something, and so you may not get any significant time. Whatever time you do have a concrete ask. Because groups come in and see me all the time and they're like, we want you to support puppy dogs. And I'm like, great, I support puppy dogs. And then they walk out the door and they got absolutely nothing for puppy dogs. So have a concrete ask of something that you're asking for. But more importantly, if you can get me to come and visit your program when I'm home in my district, then I'll spend an hour with you and it won't be late. And we'll be able to sit down and I'll learn more about you. So if you really want my attention, have me come to your place rather than coming to see me in Raleigh or wherever your state capital is.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to do our final general question. You have 30 seconds. Each person, what is your elevator pitch on why Juntos is here to stay? And I'm going to start with Milka.
Yeah, Juntos is here to stay because the hopes and dreams of the Latino community are not going anywhere either. So Juntos is here to stay because we're here to stay.
Thank you, Milka. And I will move on now to Jorge.
Yeah, so y'all, Juntos is here to stay just because, I mean, we've already seen the results. We've seen, even in this group, Milka, Kenny, I mean, they went off to college because they saw it themselves. They saw it with their own eyes. In programs like this is what they do. They open up eyes and they force people to want to reach a certain point. And that's why they're here to stay. It definitely opens up eyes.
Greg Mayer, I'll ask you next.
I always talk about the ethos of Juntos and even the name Juntos itself, and look at this community that has been built. You know, if a program like this exists on the back of one person, it disappears if that person goes away. But Juntos is built as a community, and so that makes it so sustainable. And I admire what has been built so much. It's incredible.
Thank you. And lastly, Kenny, if you can close us off with our elevator pitch. Why is Juntos here to stay?
No pressure. Okay. Well, Juntos for me has been a door that opened, and my life has been really impacted by that. So yeah, Juntos really a wide open door to endless opportunities. And I think that, you know, this door leads to a lot of bridges between individuals, educators, parents, and really the community. So Juntos is about lifting our communities and making each place better together.
Awesome. Whew. So we are done with all the questions. Thank you, panelists, for taking your time to invest in the Juntos story. You are making history today. This is our first live Facebook Live experience that we've had with our national partners. So hopefully 50 years from now, some of your children, grandchildren will be looking at this and saying, man, there's my grandmother. They really did want Latinos to graduate from high school and continue on to higher ed. So I'm excited and humbled by the energy that all of you brought to the 2 days that we had together as a national program. Know that our privilege here is to serve the families that are the future of our country. And so we're excited to move forward with new vision, 2020 vision, knowing why Juntos matters and knowing that Juntos is here to stay. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.